I was, I was a fairly young mom. I was 23 or 24. This is my first child. My husband and I had just moved back from Scotland and, found out surprisingly that we were pregnant. It was a fairly normal pregnancy. I mean, I gained a lot of weight, but every ultrasound I had was fine. Everything was fine. She was 2 weeks overdue. And so I went to go have her. And she was beautiful. She was 8 pounds, 3 ounces. She was lovely, gorgeous, the most gorgeous baby. My dad came in, held her, and I looked up and she started to turn gray. And then I feel like it was kind of a flurry to get her out and check her over. They had her out for a really long time. And then when they came back in, they basically said, we need to get her to Dartmouth. She has an abnormality. Everything from her diaphragm down is now up in her chest. Her heart is shifted. She needs, immediate surgery. They didn't even write her name down, which that bothered me when I got to, we flew her, she actually airlifted, she was put in a helicopter and airlifted about an hour and a half away to a better facility. And I wasn't able to go with her, obviously. I was experiencing my own issues at the time too, so I couldn't even leave. And so to kind of watch her being loaded into a helicopter within hours of delivering her was pretty traumatic. And I said I wasn't gonna cry, but anyway, so we've been 22 years. So anyway, yeah, so that was hard. We flew up to Dartmouth. We live in New Hampshire, and Dartmouth Hitchcock was the best place for her to be. And I want to sing their praises for all that they did. Yeah, sorry, give me a moment.
You're fine. We never get through any of these without tears, really.
I wasn't expecting that. So yes, we get up there and it says, baby girl on it. It doesn't even have her name. There was nothing of hers there. She was just an infant without a name. And so we made sure that stuffed animals get put there and name cards and everything. And then we stayed up there in David's house for, probably about a month. I will say she was really sick. When they said CDH, I didn't know anything about it. Not even what the word was. I kept having to look it up. And this was before the age of the internet. So I didn't have a cell phone that I could go and look up, what is all this? I just didn't have access to the internet while I was staying in the hospital with her or, nearby. And so I was just kind of going off of what the doctors were telling me. And there was just so much information. I'm also a new mom, young, going through all of this, stuff and not really absorbing all of it, all of the stuff that was happening. There's a few vivid moments that I remember, them taking her chest tube out, her losing her sucking reflex, but then, me pumping in a closet and, still hemorrhaging and, just survival mode for everyone. And yeah, so before we left, she actually did learn to nurse again, which was amazing. She was really healthy. She had a really great start because there were a lot of kids in that NICU that, were a quarter of her size, if not less, that were really struggling. And I felt like she had, she had weight on her side. She had health on her side, I felt like at the time. But she was really sick. And I guess I didn't realize how sick until I got home with her. And then I started getting on the computer and researching the heck out of all of this and being absolutely astounded at what could have been. Sorry.
But it didn't.
It didn't. No, but I do feel for all these parents and families out there. I ran out of tissues. Look at that. I'm always thinking of these, because I do follow, the Facebook and the Instagram of, all these families that are going through what I went through, and just kind of I feel like reliving that moment. But I do feel like maybe ignorance was bliss at that time for me. Like, it was probably a good thing that I didn't know as much as I do now. So, I mean, I feel like sometimes too much information is heavy. And so, but we got through it. The doctors were absolutely incredible. The nurses were more than helpful. David's house, housed us for a month. And they were also wonderful. So, during that time, even though it was totally traumatic, I do have to say that the community around us really supported us and made it survivable mentally. So, and my parents were nearby, and they were really helpful. And and she was an easy baby. I feel like, as babies go, I mean, I think the only lasting, I feel so fortunate. Like, I even hate telling my story because I feel so fortunate. The only thing she had, I felt like at the time when she was an infant, was, this giant scar. She had some reflux occasionally, but overall, I think that as an infant and as a young person, she had the best case scenario. We had other issues later on down the road that I really wasn't expecting. But starting when she was about 7 years old, we had an incident where she ended up back in the hospital. But I don't know if you want to talk about that, Elise, because I feel like that was when she sort of came online to, oh, this is, something that I have to deal with. This is something that my body's different than my friends.
Yeah. And it's honestly something I still think about every day or every time I get a stomach ache. I have to think about it, just worrying. But when I was 7, I ended up in the hospital with a bowel obstruction from the scar tissue. And the hospital that I was at didn't know, and they sent me home. And then I continued to throw up and pain, and something was definitely wrong. So we went back, and they ended up doing a scan, and they saw that it was obstructed, and things just kind of went a little downhill there. So I ended up getting in an ambulance and was shipped back to Dartmouth, which at the time I was in New York. So I was in an ambulance ride with my mom for, I don't know how long it was, hours. And so we ended up getting back to Dartmouth, and everything was fixed, and the doctors and the nurses were great, as they were 7 years before. But it's something that then occurred again when I was probably 12, 11. It ended up fixing itself. I didn't need to go into surgery that time. But because it's happened more than once, I try to remember the feeling of that time. And so even now I'll get a stomach ache, and it pops into my head, what if this is it again? And I think it's especially worrisome being out here where I can't just go back to Dartmouth. I can't just go back to that hospital again. And I don't even know any resources out here if they know anything that has happened. So I think that is kind of the biggest thing that I kind of struggle with now with CDH, is just worrying about if something's going to happen again. And I've seen stories of reherniation, and that terrifies me. I don't know what that feels like. So when I have pain in my diaphragm, that terrifies me. But I just have to push through, and if it lasts longer than a couple hours, then I decide maybe that's time to go. But yeah, but as of, I don't know, since I was 12, after that, it's been 10 years and I haven't had any issues, thankfully. So hopefully that will continue.
I will say a few things have sort of crept up where it's been, like it has kind of slipped its way into other things. So like, when she had problems with cramping and menstruation. And then we had to go to a specialist for nerve issues. And he was like, oh, you had CDH. That means, that you could have other genetic abnormalities. So her nerves were kind of running through her muscles instead of around her muscles. And so that was kind of causing that. But, he's like, oh, well, you had this, therefore, like, there's probably other things that are, that are popping up too. They thought she had endometriosis. She had gone in to have a laparoscopic surgery, and the doctor said there is a sheet of scar tissue, like almost like saran wrap, like around her uterus. She's like, I cut all that back, like it's all gone. But she's like, but I can't go any further up, so I have no idea what, so it's like, it's always like, when that scar tissue is gonna like attack again. I don't know. Anyway, you were gonna say something. I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Well, for the audience, because I wasn't recording when we were talking privately earlier. For the audience, Elise is living in Italy, so she's not only a chair, survivor. She's also brave. She's living overseas. Very proud of her. I do have resources in Italy, so I'll make sure you have those, and
that's great.
You don't have to worry about that. There are quite a few really good CDH doctors in Italy. But
that's great. That's good to hear.
Well,
yeah, so I feel like she's kind of beat the odds on so many levels. Like, I always wanted to reach out when she was going. I felt like, again, I feel guilty sort of, talking about her and all the amazing things that she's been able to do. She was a Class 1 athlete, like a brilliant student, straight A's. She's graduating college this year. On the dean's list, and I'm just so proud of her.
As you should be. You shouldn't feel bad about anything. Stories like this give hope to the new families, and that's what we need more of. We want to see these kids thrive. We want to see them live quote unquote normal lives. We want to see them excel in everything they want to. That's best case scenario.
Absolutely.
We fight for all of them. And so she's a great example of what wonderful things these kids can do. Give
Absolutely.
it the best chances they can get. So that's a great thing. We absolutely want to share her story as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I know that one big question that all the mothers have, and the fathers too, that we like to ask the older survivors is, how did you feel about your scar? How did you get through adolescence with that?
I wore a lot of one-piece bathing suits when I was younger. But I'm not sure what age, probably when I got into high school, I started feeling confident and I started feeling like proud of what I have been through and proud to show it off sometimes, honestly, just to, I don't know why I ever was scared to like have people see it and question me or think I was like weird or like abnormal. But once I started getting into high school, and I just got proud to have it and proud to show it and proud to be who I am and survive it. And I don't know. And so now today, proud of it.
Well, good. You should be. Absolutely. Yeah. That's your badge of courage right there. Tried to take you out and didn't. So, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to edit that out because I'm stuttering, which I do often these days. Now, I think it's so wonderful that you're so independent and that you know your medical history so that when you're alone as an adult, you can take care of your own medical needs. That's so important and something that we really push or try to push for the older kids so that they can make their own medical decisions because mom is not always going to be there. And for a lot of these kids who haven't had other issues since birth, they have no idea what happened to them. You know, they have some idea, but they don't know the medical things that happened to them. And so that is a way as they get older, that they can relay their history in a way that will make sure that they get the care that they need, whatever happens. Now, another big issue we have for CDH kids is the aging out of pediatrics and trying to find someone who knows how to take care of them once they're 18. You're having to find someone overseas, which is a whole other ball of wax, you know, and a language barrier too. But it's an issue for all of the survivors because the adult surgeons are not experienced in CDH. They're experienced in traumatic diaphragmatic hernia, but not congenital diaphragmatic hernia. And while it's the same muscle in the same area, it's two completely different issues. Come with a whole different set of complexities when you're born with it and your lungs aren't fully developed and all of the other things like the scar tissue that encompass that they're not used to dealing with. And so how do you deal with that, Mom? Like what did you do when she graduated high school, went off on her own? How did you prepare her? Do you have any advice for the other parents when you sent her off on her way on how to represent herself in a world that has no idea that kids like these exist?
I think she learned very early on that she's got to be a good advocate for herself. I felt like, you know, some experiences that we had when she was young, she saw how important it was to advocate for herself. I have never hid, you know, what happened to her or, you know, how her life began. I actually introduced her to your support group, I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago. And I, you know, wanted her to kind of research and look at, she's also going into the medical profession. I want her to talk about that a little bit too. So I think she has a good base of knowledge for what, and she also is really in tune with her body, you know, like listening. I can't guess what's happening with her. She needs to be more in tune with her own body and know when something is serious and when it's not. So I feel like just having those constant conversations, having a really good PCP who has followed along. You know, our PCP was fantastic all through her childhood, sort of having those conversations and doing the research for herself on, because I don't think she had another patient with CDH. So just making them aware and then bringing them along on your journey. And then when they do age out, we had a good family practitioner who became her, you know, she also is now her family, well, eventually, not now, but like, you know, when she's an adult, she can be her doctor then too. And so she can help find those specialists or anyone that she would need along the way. But, you know, forming that relationship with her was really important.
Well, Elise, tell us about this medical career journey you're on.
I had always wanted to be in the medical profession. I'm not sure why. I think just all of my experiences. I've been around a lot of hospitals. And so I kind of just started to develop it more in high school and in college. I knew I wanted to be in the medical profession. I just wasn't sure what. I started to get very interested in radiology, and kind of something that I had in the back of my mind that I had always wanted was kind of to work with children, which I am actually a teacher out here. So I'm getting that experience and being able to achieve that goal. But I eventually, when we get back to the States, I want to start my radiology career, but I would love to work at a pediatric hospital, mostly because I just want to use my story and be able to be empathetic towards these children struggling and even towards their families, but mostly just being there for the children and making them feel comfortable. I don't want to be like the doctor to solve the diagnosis or the problem or anything. I just want to be that nurse and be that person there with that patient and with that child, and just making them feel as comfortable and just as comfortable as they can be, whatever situation they're in. So yeah, I just really am looking forward to continuing my career into pediatrics and just working with children and being able to share my story and just make them be able to be relatable with them and feel cared for.
That's absolutely wonderful. We have quite a few survivors who've gone into the medical fields, nurses or doctors. And we even had one that wants to be a pediatric surgeon, and I think she's doing her residency now. I need to check on her. But
Wow.
match you with any of them. Seems in common. Is there any advice you'd like to give the newly diagnosed families? Either one.
I don't know about Go ahead, Mom.
Well, I mean, I feel like I had a unique situation. This was 1999, when we went through this. So again, I would say don't just, listen to your doctors and maybe not do as much looking at the internet. Just kind of stay away from the internet for a little while. Day by day, small goals. Looking at the good things that are happening and celebrating those. And yeah, I feel like it's a slow journey. And every journey is so unique that, I feel like reading other people's stories after the fact was interesting, but I feel like I don't know if it would have been super helpful if I was in it at the moment. The comparison of they're all so vastly different that that you really got to focus on your own journey.
Okay, Elise?
I don't know. I think just maybe for when the kids get older.
Oh, sorry. I meant to warn you of that. I don't know if you can cut this part out, but I have announcements for the next 3 minutes.
Oh, it's okay.
Or what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute myself, and then Elise can continue doing what she's doing.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
I guess I don't know really any advice for the families, but mostly just the kids and adolescents and teens. Just be proud and love your scar and love who you are, and be proud of what you have gone through and what you continue to go through every day. And I don't know, just it's a miracle that they're here, and just don't forget that ever. They're a miracle. We're all a miracle. So
absolutely. Ladies, thank you so much. Appreciate you sharing your story. Elise, I think you're amazing. I think you're going to continue to do amazing things.
Thank you.
We'll definitely make sure that you get into the older kids group. So anyone watching this who has an older survivor, we have an older kids Facebook group so they can talk to each other. Thank you both again.
Thank you, Dawn, for letting us do this. I feel like this is the first time that we've actually probably shared the story together.
Thank you so much. And it's just an honor to be able to share the story and just talk to everyone out there, and it's just...
And know that they're not alone.
Yeah.
Definitely not alone.